Thank you very much for inviting me along. It is a great opportunity. The AHDB, as many of you will know, has had a very challenging 12 months, and a lot has been said about us. An awful lot of it, actually, I have to say, has been very distorted. So today I'm going to try and put some of that right. My theme for today, given to me by Ian, was suitably challenging and controversial. Check out or check off, and how should we value the levy? And I'm going to try and demonstrate today that we should value the levy, that we're embarking on a significant revitalisation of the levy boards and the overall AHDB, that we're going through a large change programme that's about bringing the 6 levy boards much closer together into one efficient organisation. And this is all about adding value, driving impact for the levy payer, whoever they are, and whatever their operation and business, and really trying to make a significant difference. And we do genuinely believe that the levy can be used to make a significant difference. So my job is to turn the whole thing around. And this is what I'm going to be talking about today, to give you a bit of background about the setup in terms of the levies and how we're organised, what we're doing in terms of our revitalisation programme, some examples of the kind of work that we do, and one of our success stories, really to give you a flavour. Many of you will know this, but it's worth stating again. The levy boards have existed for a considerable amount of time. You know, they were set up in 1948 to address market failure. They've had a very different life over those years, the disparate parts that make up now the AHDB. There was a very significant review, the Rosemary-Radcliffe Review, which in 2005 made some very clear recommendations about what needed to happen to ensure that the levy was used more effectively and more efficiently. Now, I'll be frank with you that for numerous reasons, many people in this room will know those reasons perhaps even more clearly than myself, but those recommendations really were never implemented. And we ended up with the creation of the AHDB in 2008, where there were more recommendations about what needed to happen in order to ensure that the levy was used effectively and efficiently. And in fact, since 2008, equally, a lot of those recommendations were never really implemented. And instead of trying to look for efficiency, I would advocate that actually we ended up with more silo working and less collaboration. And in many ways, many of our levy boards have been very, very effective in the work that they do, but the opportunity to bring things together to see if there's efficiency was never really realised. Move it along. Okay, it's better. Back. The AHDB, the Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board, a real mouthful. You wouldn't really start there if you were going to do it all over again. It's not a great name. Was really there as an organisation to have oversight. It's driven by a statutory levy. And whether we like it or not, government do describe that as a para-fiscal tax. It's regarded by government as that. In effect, of course, it is levy payer money, and contrary to what a lot of people think about me, I work for farmers and levy payers. I don't see my job as working for government. Government have high expectations of what we're going to do with our turnaround programme, but my primary focus is delivering for our levy payers. The whole focus is about being accountable, more transparent and clear in our goals, and we really are clear that we think what we're doing is justifiable, providing we can prove that we're making a difference and adding value. So I'm having trouble with my clicker here. It's better. So there are a number of factors which I would argue are good reason for the changes that we're needing to embark on. Obvious external factors in terms of the challenges facing our sectors, but also enormous opportunities as well, even given the hardship that many of our sectors are facing right now, but also a lot of very clear internal drivers in terms of we're not realising the full potential of what we have, and it is very clear simply by lifting the bonnet up on the organisation and its disparate parts that we can certainly work much more efficiently and much, much smarter than we're currently working now. And some of that is really just recognising that people need leading and managing in a fresh way. Now, many of these challenges on this list here are you guys and girls are all grappling with right this minute. They're very at the forefront of everybody's mind today. Huge concerns in many of our sectors. So I won't dwell on that. But as well as having these rather considerable challenges to face. Sorry, I'm really struggling with my buzzer today. Okay, we do also have some big opportunities. And if we just look at our domestic market, the big opportunity is this the increase in the population and the expectation of the increase in the domestic population. The fastest growing population in Europe. A market that our competitors almost certainly are looking at, particularly the Irish and Danes, and it affords our own farmers and growers enormous opportunities, increasing affluence, increasing numbers of people, and a much healthier level of economic growth. And therefore, we have to take that very, very seriously. But equally, as you well know, we also have major concerns here in the UK with how we're performing as an industry. Productivity, growth is lagging, and our primary challenge is one, coming back to that word of efficiency, how to reduce our costs, maintaining our output, increasing our output, and really having a focus on those competitors that are dogging us. If you look at how we compare with other nations, it's not pretty. My view is that the AHDB and its various boards should be much more proactive in working with our 6 sectors to address this issue around competitiveness and productivity. I'd like my team working with our boards to have much more focus in each sector about who we are competing against. Why are others doing so well? And really look at the hard evidence and see where the differences are. Look for and adopt the best practice. Now, you might say she's stating the blindingly obvious. But actually, as an industry, we are appallingly bad at holding a mirror up to how we're performing. And, I'm quite happy to be knocked down for saying that, but I really do think we have to spend more time talking about how we compete and how we can do better, and a more mature debate around that. And certainly, the AHDB should be helping with that. Dairy margins, we all know, are in a desperate situation. But we also know milk price is the worst we've ever seen, and also our margins are the worst we've seen. It's staggering, and it's deeply, deeply worrying. but we also have to look at how we're dealing with running our dairy businesses and indeed our beef businesses as well. Management skills and cost of production are still an issue that we don't talk enough about. Volatility, another massive challenge for us, and we know that we can be better prepared than we currently are around volatility. Again, the AHDB should be playing a much more active part in that, and that is what I'm trying to address right now. One of our main messages from the open meetings that we've just done with our levy payers is around a massive demand for people to help, requiring help around this area. Recently, the AHDB is leading a volatility forum chaired by Gwyn Jones, our dairy board chairman, which just kicked off last week. And this is all about trying to find practical solutions for businesses hit by market uncertainty. Also looking to identify tools to help manage volatility and provide a better knowledge exchange around it. Mechanisms like forward contracts, formula pricing, derivatives, and cooperation. Priority here is all about helping the industry understand the commodity cycle better and also its impacts and upskilling the industry to assess risk much better. Climate change, another massive challenge, but also could be a significant opportunity. And a lot of our work should be including this and mainstreaming it. It's not something that we should marginalise, far from it. The purpose of the AHDB is very clear, and it is about equipping our levy payers with independent, evidence-based tools and information to help our levy payers grow, become more competitive and more sustainable. And around sustainability, we're talking about resilience as well as environmental understanding and improvement. Two important priorities here around the competitiveness and sustainability and boosting that, and also growing market opportunities. Now, that statement is not about maintaining the status quo. It's about a step change. And to do it, we have to change the AHDB in a very significant way in order to be more effective for our levy payers. So here's some of the things that we're doing. It actually says on here a new chairman, but I don't really think we can say Peter is a new chairman now. He's about 18 months into the job, and I'm not really new. I'm a year in this week. But we do have an awful number of new board members, and I have a new impressive leadership team. And we're bringing the 6 sectors together as one single family. We're going to restructure. In fact, we have already restructured our teams. We employ about 400 people, not just at Stoney Park, but also in regional teams around the country. And we have a collective levy of just under 60 million. So we have a significant amount of resource, and the talent I have within my team of those 400 people is extraordinary. So therefore, I should be able to deliver better with that resource. What we're doing is a lot of the things on this list. We're trying to cut out the duplication, and there is a lot of it because of the way we've been working in our silos in the past. We undoubtedly have to share the best practice. We have to look for where the excellence is and roll it out. We have to become much more performance-driven as an organisation. And that's around evaluating much more what we do. In the past, people have worked committed, passionate, and have worked extremely hard to deliver for levy payers. But we haven't really focused anywhere near enough on outcomes. We've been very focused on a high volume of work, so lots and lots of output, lots of activity, but not a lot of reflection of what the benefit is of that activity and how much of it is driving any change or helping our levy payers on farm. So that's a big focus is around outcomes rather than just output. One of the examples of our new approach in joining things up is that in the past, we're a big employer. We have employed over 400 people. As an employer, there's a big onus on us to be a good employer and to develop and retain our staff. But historically, we've had 6 separate HR plans. So although we're one organisation, it's very difficult to function well and to retain and recruit and develop our people well if you've got 6 HR plans. We now have one HR plan where we're able to do much more in developing this wonderful asset that we've got, which is our people. And in doing so, over a 3-year period, we'll be able to save £450,000 of the levy. So what I'm getting at there is by being much more cost conscious, by taking a good hard look at how we can work smarter, we can do better and save money. This is my team. I have a completely new leadership team. I inherited 10 direct reports. All of those people are still in the organisation, all bar one, in other roles. But these are the new people that are spearheading and driving the change that we require. And we're requiring significant change in terms of the impact that we make for the levy payer, but also significant change in how we work together in order to be more collaborative and work in a team so that we can be more agile and more efficient. In this team, like all good teams, you need diversity. So I've brought in 2 people from outside. That's Tom Hind, who'll be familiar to many of you. He was the agricultural director at Tesco, who's my chief strategy officer, and Christine Watts, who's the wife of a farmer. First and foremost, she has extensive expertise in communications in very complicated NH trusts. So she is going to help us transform our communication piece, which seriously needs a complete revision. As always, with organisational change, you become very introspective. And I will readily admit that in our first year, my first year working with the organisation in trying to organise ourselves better, we've been really analysing our navel and looking at ourselves. And this year, we have to be much more outward facing. In the past, we've been working a bit like this, and we've tried to do too much. We haven't been focused enough. We haven't been clear on our priorities. We haven't done enough joined up working. And so changing the culture is a really, really big piece here. You know, moving people from a culture which was quite bureaucratic, rather like working in the civil service, and very, very process-driven. People very busy and very committed, doing lots of things, but not always clear about where they felt they can have biggest impact. To an organisation which is more agile and more flexible, more responsive, able to change and adapt, dependent on the needs of the sectors, innovative, international in its perspective of where we can learn and gather intelligence, and boy, does it need to be much more cost-conscious. So we're going from that to that, and we're on the way, but there's still a long way to go in terms of culture change. This is where we've gone in the last year. So you can see on the left what all the different logos of the different sector boards that we had, and we've moved to one organisational structure with the AHDB name at the top. This is a big shift from silos to one organisational thinking. The absolute critical message here is, in doing this, we are not losing our sector focus. My view is we will be able to enhance our sector focus by the changes that we're making with our people and our strategic approach. The bit that's also not changing is that our sector boards, the 6 sector boards that we have that do a great job, will continue to set the strategy for their sector. Sector specialists are still there, and the levies will continue to be ring-fenced and spent in the sector where they were raised. We have a significant amount of scrutiny, quite rightly, on our levy ring fencing. We have KPMG auditors in all the time, and there is no worry about that, I can assure you. The strategy setting is going through a new approach. A big part of Tom Hines' recruitment and his team is about building a team that can work in a more collaborative way with our sector boards to get the strategies streamlined and really thinking about where we can focus to have impact. It's all about where we can make a difference rather than just duplicating what else is available. It's more about focus, focus, focus in every area. The hypothecation of the levy, I really have covered this, but it is all covered by a statutory instrument, and we are extremely diligent about how we handle this and are very mindful in this change agenda that people might worry about the ring fencing of the levies. As I said earlier, we do have extensive scrutiny around auditors on this, and as an accounting officer, as well as the CEO for the organisation, I would be hauled before Parliament the moment anything isn't right. So I'm very, very conscious that we get that right and very transparent about that. Levy rates. I was asked to talk a little bit about levy rates, and this slide, I think, probably raises more questions than it answers, but I would draw your attention to the dairy line. As we know, levies vary considerably from country to country. For example, in Ireland, Teagasc and Bord Bia do fantastic work, and that's an industry that's really motoring. A lot of their money that is raised there is funded by the Irish government. A lot of the work that Teagasc do, Teagasc are the equivalent of the AHDB in Ireland, and they do some spectacular work, but it is pretty underwritten by the Irish government. Dairy farmers in Australia and New Zealand certainly pay more levy than dairy farmers here. They have a good system in New Zealand where their farmers vote every 3 to 4 years to decide if they want to continue with the levy. What a good idea. I don't have a problem with that. Why don't we do it here? I'd be very happy to have a vote every 3 years or 4 years for our levy payers to say, is this organisation doing what we want it to be doing and helping us move forward? That helps me. If I'm driving a performance agenda with my organisation, that's a big motivator. So I don't have any problem with that. We've done a lot of listening to levy payers in the last couple of months. We've done a lot of open meetings. This slide summarises some of the feelings and the views that were coming back from levy payers about the technical work and how they want us to move forward. What we've been doing in our reorganisation is bringing research and knowledge exchange together in one team to create pools of expertise. It is the first time, other than in our pork sector, that we have research and knowledge exchange joined together at the hip, and that should enable us to apply a lot of the learning much more readily on the farm. We're also, by bringing these pools of expertise together, looking for opportunities where we can join things up. So if you look at our 3 crop sectors, horticulture, potatoes, cereals and oilseeds, there's an awful lot of research that we should be doing across those 3 sectors. When we lifted the bonnet up on our research at the moment, I've got something like 150 pieces of crop protection research underway at the moment because the 3 crops sectors have been doing their own commissioning of their own research in their silos. That's another good reason why collaboration, one organisation joining things up, speaks volumes. Knowledge exchange and improving it is hugely, hugely important. Where we get it right, we get very good satisfaction scores back from levy payers, and we know that this is where we can really start to make a difference if we get it right. So we want to have our knowledge exchange much more closely aligned to the strategic goals that are set by our sector boards. And we want to really take a lot more back from the farmer-to-farmer learning, where we have farmer-to-farmers sharing their learning and sharing what's going on, it's much more compelling for the levy payer. And therefore, we have to look at that and say, what else could we do? Not just face-to-face, but digitally, with the advances in technology, to bring farmer to farmer much closer. We also want to partner better with other agencies and organisations. We do partner already, we do some great work, but our view is that we can work even better and maybe reach a broader church by partnering more imaginatively. Here's some feelings and views back from levy payers around our communications. And communications has been, to be frank, a very, very challenging area for us in the last year. We've been reacting, not being proactive. We've been on the back foot more times than I can remember, and we're not going to do that anymore. We've got to be much more confident about what we're doing and clearer. Too many levy payers tell us that they don't really know what we do. So therefore, we do have a significant communication challenge. Now, I wouldn't suggest that this in any way reflects any of us here, but I know that there's an awful lot of people here that feel very swamped with the information that you're given, whether it's industry background information or information that's pertinent to your business, and how much of it, I wonder, is hitting the mark. And then, of course, the AHDB comes along with all its information and messages too, and the world is feeling very, very cluttered. So we have to really, again, slim down what we're doing and focus on the really key parts. We have to look for more practical tools and services to reach our levy payers. We know that 70% of people accessing our websites are accessing them via the mobile phone, and therefore we have to start to think about optimizing what we do for the mobile phone, and also, again, focus on the priorities, not try to do too much. Digital is a really big opportunity, and we do an awful lot in digital, but when I said earlier we have a lot of output, boy, we have a lot of output in digital. So at the moment, I think 2 weeks ago, I understood that we had 60 websites under the AHDB umbrella. Today, I've been told by my team, as they're poking around even more, that we actually have 70 websites. Of those websites, only 7 are levy payer facing. The rest are consumer facing in terms of educating and information direct to the consumer. And obviously, they've built up over the years and had a very clear purpose. But what we've discovered is that we've had to be very dependent on outsourcing that work to maintain those websites. And that's very, very costly. And also, when we look, we're not sure that those agencies are doing a good enough job. So that's another big area. At the moment, we're spending millions of levy money on outsourced work, and we cannot do that in the future. That's not good use of levy money. So we have to look at how we change that, build a little bit more capability in-house, and again, have a focus on where we're making a difference. So a big part of my focus at the moment is that I've brought in somebody from TUI, the travel company, who's a digital expert, who's helping us rethink all of that digital piece. And this is an area where we can make some significant savings. Market development, another big area. I won't go into that, but I personally think that's a real big opportunity for every single sector. We're doing a lot of work around export work, and we've had a major triumph around trotters. In China, we are now on the brink of exporting about £18 million a year's worth of trotters from the UK to the Chinese. They absolutely love the products that are actually our waste. So they're like gold dust, and there is a real massive opportunity there. The AHDB played a really important role in this area, in that we got involved in liaising with all these groups and acting as a facilitator and also doing the work, Government do the opening the door, they do the market access work, and then we do the rest. So we liaise with the supply chain, we organise the compliance inspections, etc., and we make sure that when the Chinese say, well, we really want that product, that there's no question that we can deliver exactly the product that they want. And that is a very, very big success story. I was in China in November at a massive food show showcasing British product. I was absolutely knocked for six by the level of interest in what we're doing here and our product. And I'm not just talking about trotters and barley. We've also done the same work. It's taken 5 years of work by AHDB staff to deliver £20 million a year deals on British barley to the Chinese. So we have real skill and expertise in export work, and we want to do more of that for other sectors. This year, much more levy payer facing, much more driving real benefit and value to the levy payer. I promise you, you will see change, but you will need to be patient with us. And I have one tiny little video that we're going to show, which really was the entree to our levy payer meetings.
Is changing too. Food and farming in the UK contributes £8 billion each year to the economy in the face of volatile markets, new regulations, pests and diseases, technological innovations, unpredictable weather and a growing global population. Our purpose is to equip farmers and growers with the information and tools to grow and become more competitive and sustainable. AHDB collects around £57 million in levies each year, which we invest on behalf of levy payers on activities to boost competitiveness and grow the market. To do this effectively, we need to understand the challenges our levy payers face and what we can do to make the biggest difference to your businesses. That's why, this autumn and winter, we're holding open meetings for all our levy payers. We look forward to telling you a little more about our work, our plans, and to listen to your ideas for the future. If you are unable to come to a meeting in your area, but would still like to take part in the review, please visit our website and complete the survey.